Yep, sir. So, good evening, sir. We are privileged to have you on this meeting, and really, I'm trying hard to connect you from so long. We have tried to connect you for from last 3 meetings, and कहते हैं ना करत करत अभ्यास के, तो अभी आज सक्सेसफुल हो गए अल्टीमेटली. So और usually होता क्या है कि we approach through different मीडियाज, बट आपने एक अनयूजुअल फेसबुक पे मुझे रिस्पॉन्ड किया, सबसे बड़ी चीज मैसेंजर पे, तो देन वी कनेक्टेड ऑन थ्रू मेल आईडी एंड फोन नंबर, वो ओल्ड रिवर्स हुआ है. So good to connect you, sir. You're really welcome. So I would like to introduce Mr. Harbhajan, sir. He is former Director General from Honda. Now he is Chief Strategy and People Care, SJT University, and CSR Chairman for Northern Region of CSR committee for CII, and also Chairman for Ease of Doing Business, Haryana CII. So he has a lot other designations like President Safety for Gurgaon. So and so on. I don't know कि कितना उनका intro है, but he's a dynamic person. And you, sir, Mr. Neeraj Kumar is a former commissioner of Delhi Police who retired from the Indian Police Service on 31st July 2013, and he belongs to 1976 batch and AGMUT cadre. He recently completed his tenure as the chief advisor to the BCCI for their anti-corruption and security unit. So although this is very small intro for Neeraj sir, but today we would like to interact with you on so many things, like as per the present scenario, lockdown we can say, and as well as of course we want to discuss with you other campaigns run by Delhi Police. मैंने अभी सर आज काफी कुछ मैं स्टडी कर रही थी, तो उसमें मैंने देखा कोविड-19 से रिलेटेड अगर हम बात करें इनिशियली, क्योंकि ये बहुत हॉट टॉपिक और लेटेस्ट टॉपिक और वी कैन नॉट इग्नोर दिस टॉपिक, तो इसमें कुछ बड़े इंटरेस्टिंग कैंपेन्स दिल्ली पुलिस ने रन किए हैं. जैसे कि 1983 के जो क्रिकेटर्स थे, वो टीम के साथ इन्होंने एक कैंपेन रन किया है कि 1983 क्रिकेटर्स के जो स्टेटमेंट्स हैं, कुछ विनिंग स्टेटमेंट्स, उनको लेके उन्होंने एक सोशल मीडिया में पब्लिश करते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल, मैं हरभजन सर से भी बात कर रही थी आज कि मदन लाल ही हैज शेयर्ड कि उसने जैसे बॉलिंग किया था विवियन रिचर्ड को, और कपिल देव ने जब कैच किया, तो वो जो मूवमेंट था उसको आउट करने का विवियन रिचर्ड को, दैट इज मेमोरेबल, और वो भूलने वाली बात नहीं है, वो कोई भूल नहीं सकता. इसी तरीके से जो सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग है वो भूलने की चीज नहीं है. तो ही हैज रिलेटेड सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग टू हिज दैट हिस्टोरिकल मूवमेंट. सो इस तरीके के कुछ कैंपेन इन्होंने रन किए हैं कि वो मूवमेंट्स को उन्होंने आज के जो रिक्वायरमेंट है अवेयरनेस के लिए उसको मर्ज करके दे आर स्प्रेडिंग वर्ड थ्रू सोशल मीडिया. और इसके अलावा सर कुछ कैंपेन्स मैंने कुछ देखे, सेफ्टी, वुमेन सेफ्टी के लिए कुछ रन किए गए थे दिल्ली पुलिस के लास्ट 2-3 इयर्स में भी, जिसमें कि या लास्ट कुछ सालों में, जिसमें उन्होंने दिल्ली पुलिस ने वर्कशॉप्स, जो मेल पुलिसमैन है उनके लिए कुछ वर्कशॉप ऑर्गेनाइज किए थे, जिसमें कि उनको सेंसिटाइज किया जा सके वुमेन जो विक्टिम्स आते हैं उनसे डील करने के लिए. तो इस तरीके के कुछ वर्कशॉप्स के लिए भी मैंने कुछ पढ़ा इसमें तो आगे मैं मिस्टर हरभजन सिंह सर से रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी, ही विल मॉडरेट द सेशन, ही विल चेयर द सेशन, बट ड्यूरिंग द सेशन मेरा एक जरूर ये जानने का ये सर रहेगा कि क्या इस तरीके के कैंपेन्स, चाहे वो किसी और इश्यूज को लेकर हो, चाहे किसी और अवेयरनेस को लेकर हो, किसी भी प्रॉब्लम के सॉल्यूशन के लिए हो, कितने इम्पैक्टफुल रहते हैं, कितना उसकी सीरियसनेस रहती है ट्रेनिंग्स की और वर्कशॉप की, और उनका इम्पैक्ट क्या आता है, क्या परसेंटेज रहता है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल कुछ एक परिवर्तन करके भी एक सर कैंपेन हुआ था जो कि स्पेशली रेप और सेक्सुअल हरासमेंट और इन 2-3 इश्यूज को लेकर ही था। उसका क्या इम्पैक्ट हुआ, कितना परसेंटेज उसमें हमको सक्सेस मिलता है पुलिस को। तो बट मैं चाहूंगी मिस्टर हरभजन सिंह सर, यू प्लेस नाउ, ओवर टू यू नाउ, आप हैंडल करिए, लेकिन ये चीजें मैं जरूर चाहूंगी कि कुछ निकल कर आए और मुझे भी कुछ आंसर मिल सके। थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you, Rema ji. Good evening, friends. We have Mr. Neeraj Kumar, former Commissioner of Delhi Police and BCCI's Chief Advisor to Anti-Corruption and Security Unit. Mr. Kumar had a very illustrious career, and now, he has recently stepped down as a Chief Advisor to Anti-Corruption and Security Unit, a man with a large experience, and we have invited him, and he has been kind enough to extend us this time to discuss with him that how can we bridge the gap between police and public. So to start with, I would just like to say that police are a constituted body of persons empowered by a state with the aim to enforce the law, to ensure the safety, health, and possessions of citizens, and to prevent crime and civil disorder. So it is the executional arm of all the governments, all the laws, they get implemented finally through police personnel, and they have a very a special role in the society to perform. They are the one who control crime, they are the one who give the sense of security to the citizenry, and they are the one who bail out wherever there is a crisis, and they step in and ensure. And even during this trying times, we have seen that how the police has been actively involved in bailing out the people, in enforcing that the lockdown prevails, and educating the people, at the same time extending a helping hand wherever it has been required. So I extend you a very warm welcome, sir, and I would like to request you to express your opinion, your vision, that how the gap between the police and public can be bridged, because finally it is the police to whom the citizenry looks forward to for safety and security. So, sir, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Harbhajan Singh. It's a great honor to be invited to this webinar, and I thank Rima ji, I thank you, and I thank all the participants who are present for this webinar. It's I consider it a great honor to be here today. Now, before I answer your question, Mr. Harbhajan Singh, I want to put things in a certain perspective, in a certain context. Now, the context is the COVID-19 situation, not only in India, but all over the world. And what the police has been going through during the COVID pandemic. And the other important thing that has happened recently, which has again brought police in the forefront and in sharp focus, is the killing of Floyd in Minneapolis in the US, and after which there have been riots the kind of which have never been witnessed in the US. The whole world is aghast at the brutality with which George Floyd was killed, and B, the reaction to it, and the kind of rioting that has taken place, the kind of vandalism, looting, arson that has gone on. It is unprecedented in the history of the US, and perhaps it will be one of the talked about events whenever the history of police further down is written. So, in the light of these two incidents, let us discuss this subject of police-public relationship. Now, what I first want to say is that from the time the police force has been formed as a body, as a law enforcement body, in India, of course, it is after the Mughals. First, the Mughals had that Kotwal system, and gradually, when the British came, they also used the police to their own ends, mostly to collect, extort, shall we say, taxes. If you read the history of, the East India Company, it comes in a very sharp profile how the police was used by the East India Company and how gradually the same police developed and post-independence became the Indian police. We should always remember that the Indian police has this baggage of having been a colonial police. The relationship that the people of that time were fighting for India's freedom and the police has the baggage of that experience, sometimes continues, sometimes is seen even now, and there is still a sense of disconnect and, shall we say, mistrust between the police and the public. And it is sad to admit that till today that baggage continues to be there. Now, if we want to improve the relationship, the first and foremost thing that needs to be done is to improve the communication between the police and the public. See, if the two of us want to have a good relationship, obviously we have to keep in touch. We have to either call each other up or meet each other, or have some events together and discuss our experiences, our life, etc. The first problem is that the police is not in regular communication with the public. Sometimes there are meetings that are held, but it is not held in a regular fashion, and it is not held in a sustained manner, because the police feels that we don't have the time, and the same old grievances will be aired during these meetings. The same old people are called who are the stooges of the local police stations, and so on and so forth. I remember when I was Commissioner of Police Delhi, I started a small experiment I called it Jan Sampark. Now, Jan Sampark, senior officers, by an order from my office, they had to fix a neutral venue. The meetings never took place at the police station. It took place at a neutral place like a school or a college or some community center where people were invited to come. And the invitations were not sent by the police station. It was widely publicized in newspapers, and anyone who wanted to come was welcome to attend. Now, during that experiment, which went on for almost 13 months or so, we found that the communication part of the police-public relationship improved a lot. But then, as it happens, I retired and moved away. The priorities of my successors changed, and somehow this scheme, I think, has been discontinued, and that communication is not there. So, first of all, the point I want to make is that if we want to bridge the gap between the police and the public, there has to be a very good system of communication, and the initiative for that has to be taken by the police, and that has to be followed up by members of public, public spirited citizens who should take up this cause and keep having meetings, and in which we should not only have senior officers but even junior officers of that area should be present. At least each one of us should know who our beat constable is, who our division officer is, and who our station house officer is. Unless we know that there is a beat constable meant for us who is patrolling the areas around our house, where is the question of having any kind of relationship? Unless we know who the station house officer is, unless we know who the deputy commissioner of police is, this relationship cannot improve. So that is the first point I want to make. The second point is that, the approach that the police has is to dominate the public, is to, shall we say, boss over the public. The police should boss over the criminals, the antisocial elements. Police should dominate them, and it should not dominate ordinary people. It should not dominate the respectables of the area. And unless that, the relationship between the respectables and the law-abiding citizens and the police improves, things will not progress. During COVID-19, some extraordinary things have been noticed. The police has been called again and again. I was talking to some of my colleagues in the Delhi police, and they said that, sir, at the peak of the lockdown, 95% of the calls that came were not connected with crime or law and order. They were connected with some problems arising out of the lockdown. Some problem, say for instance, lady is pregnant and she is in labor and she has to be rushed to the hospital. No ambulance, no other vehicle is available. So they would call 100. And any number of pregnant ladies were shifted from their homes to hospitals by the PCR vans. In fact, you will be amazed to know that in 4 cases, the deliveries, the women delivered their children in the police control room van itself. And in one case, the parents of one child, newborn child, named their child after the constable who had brought them from her home to the hospital. The name of the constable, I remember, Dayaveer. So the child was also called Dayaveer. Then things like old people, staying alone with children staying abroad, nobody to take care of them. They needed medicines urgently. There was no way they could have gone to the market because they are old, they are infirm. So they informed the police control room. And quite often, the police control room people, they either sent the local police guys or they went themselves by car, by their vehicles, and took the prescription, went to a nearby pharmacist, got the medicine and delivered it to the old people. So there have been umpteen such cases, and I think the police force, not only of Delhi, but of the entire country, has surprised itself with a new side of itself, with another, shall we say, image of itself, that we are capable of going beyond our duty, beyond the call of our duty, which is primarily law and order, crime, traffic, etc. And we can also do social service in many, many ways, and thereby winning the hearts of the people. So my suggestion to all the police forces would be that, having seen your own humane side, uh, here is a time that we take a pledge not to forget that inside us, that human being is still there. And even when we are doing our routine work, our humane side should show whenever an aggrieved person comes to a police station or contacts us in moments of grief or moments of emergency. I think I have spoken too much, but let this be the, shall we say, the foundation on which we can discuss further. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I think you have rightly pointed out that the baggage of distrust which we had been carrying from the colonial times has definitely impacted the relationship between the police and public. And your means the Jan Sampark, and I had been witness to those times when Jan Sampark had started, getting popularity, and the people used to speak very high of those connects. And communication is key to everything. And this time, because of COVID, the type of opportunity that has been provided to police to come out with the human face, to show the compassion, means otherwise police is perceived to be the tough face all the time, busy firefighting, trying to control crime, trying to control the so-called mobocracy which is emerging in society in a big way. And this is the first time that the society has witnessed the humane face of the police, and there are kudos all around the country, and everybody is appreciating the new face of police. And I think this is one opportunity to initiate the change for the future. The pride, the self-esteem which a policeman gets out of the applaud which he receives from public is unique. I happen to be associated with the Society for Safe Gurugram, which is an organization which helps the police personnel with the resources and other public connect programs, which enables it to improve its connect with the people and to help them in terms of providing safety to women, to children. On road safety we work, and recently just I think yesterday only we have initiated cyber internship, cyber security internship program for 500 students across India, and that program is continuing for 1 month, in which the cyber activities and the cyber security activities are being passed on to the students who have nominated for it. So like these type of activities are now coming to the fore, where police is not only focusing only on criminals, but also trying to get the support of the society and trying to pass on to the society the knowledge and the scope of connectivity which can help both to the police and to the public. So sir, I think that the baggage of distrust is something which will gradually get diluted over a period of time. And as you have said that there is another event which has happened in USA, which has actually distorted in a big way the role which the police is expected, and the brutality of the police has come to the fore, which has led to a situation of a civil war over there. We would like to have your views on that, sir, and suggest that what could be the way out of such situations when they happen occasionally because of the act of one individual or few individuals who are the part of the police force, and that image gets carried on and creates a lot of anger towards this institution.
I am permitted to speak very openly. I would say that between communities, the kind of rift or the kind of chasm that exists between the white community and the black community in the US. Fortunately, in our country, there is no such uh, between two communities. However, having said that, let me qualify that there are potential lines that exist in our society which have the potential to become something similar to the white and black divide. Certain minority community, let me straight away, since it is a closed webinar, I can take names also. When the Sikh terrorism, or shall we say terrorism for the Khalistani terrorism was on, there was that distrust between the rest of the society and that community. And it was at that time, we are aware of 1984 riots, uh, during which time the Delhi police did not come out with flying colors. In fact, they will always be blamed for not acting, not taking adequate action during the 84 riots. That is one very sad history, sad part of our history, which I think is now a matter of the past, although the wounds it has left on the minds of several people, several citizens, especially of the Sikh community, will be very hard to erase. Now, right now, the difference between the white and the black communities, if there is any such difference in our society, it is between the Hindus and the Muslims. I'm sorry to take the names of these communities, but this is a hard reality. And our police has to be very cautious not to take sides, not to be seen as partisan, not to be seen as being with the majority community, but also equally, uh, you know, uh, humane and equally serviceable, I should say, towards the Muslim community. And so it is very important to win their trust as well. You are aware that the recent anti-CAA riots that took place and its investigation has, uh, in a great way, widened these differences. And the police should take every step to make sure that it does not become a permanent fault line. And here I would like to have said it also to some of my colleagues that their investigations into the anti-CAA riots that took place, the Hindu-Muslim riots that took place in Northeast Delhi, it should be very transparent. The people should know how, if we are arresting Mr. X, why is Mr. X being arrested and why Mr. Y is not being arrested. And there should be a lot of transparency. In fact, on a couple of occasions, I have been called to the television studios for speaking on behalf of the Delhi police, even though I don't know all the finer details. But I have tried to tell them that the Delhi police is a professional force, and when it is investigating, it will use scientific evidence, it will use unimpeachable evidence, and it will all be put before the court of law. And it is the court of law which will decide whether the investigations done by the police are fair or not. And from whatever little discussions I have had with my colleagues, I am quite reassured that those investigations are pretty fair and based on scientific facts and evidence. So comparing our country with the white and black divide uh, will not be quite correct. I mean, our gap is, those gaps are created once in a while, but the fact is that those fault lines exist. The fault lines are also, Dalits versus the higher caste. The fault lines are also between the tribals and the non-tribals. I mean, there are several communities with which the majority population have serious differences. But when an incident takes place where these two are involved, the higher class is involved with a weaker section, the police must be seen to be fair, and it should do investigations in a very transparent manner so that people do not have this feeling that they have taken sides with any community. So even though we can take some amount of comfort that the situation in our country is not as bad as it is in the US, but from time to time, we all know that the Hindu-Muslim riots, when they take place, they take a very, very ugly turn, and they bring a very bad name to our country.
Sir, like as you rightly said, police not to take sides and equally humane and win trust of all communities. Transparency in their actions is the key. And there are, like when there is a mob frenzy and when people get into the grip of such mob frenzies, they really do not differentiate between the right and the wrong, between the good and the bad. And then anybody, like it is the unscrupulous and criminal elements who take the charge, and then like they do the things which are unimaginable, and at that point of time means it is finally people look towards the police, and wherever the police acts and saves the life of people, they create a image of godliness in the eyes of those people and are always recognized and appreciated for their efforts. Sir, I find nowadays that a lot of women police stations are cropping up in society for extending exclusive services to the women. So, what is your take on it? Like, does it, serves a very special purpose? Does it gives a very special comfort to the women who go over there? Makes life easier for the women to seek the services of police? Like I would like to have your take on that, sir.
And to be very, very frank with you, I believe that all women police stations are a gimmick. It is very fine to say that there is a police station in a city which is all women. Now tell me, supposing that police station is located in, say, Parliament Street, and a woman has come to grief in, say, Narela, is it expected that that woman will come all the way from Narela to all police station? Or obviously no. The ladies of that area, around that area, will reach the police station in the times of distress. That is one. The second thing I find is that when the investigations start, it is not always possible for investigation teams which only have women members to do a thorough job of the investigation. For instance, I'll give you a very small example. If a women's team has to go to a certain spot where there is a bit of a disturbance, now will a woman constable driver drive the car or the jeep in which the force will go? Generally, we don't have women drivers. So there has got to be a man driver who is driving. Number two, if there is a riotous situation there because of an atrocity committed on a woman, or if a woman has been raped, Will the all-women's team be able to handle the triad? Again, it may be difficult. Theoretically possible, hypothetically possible, but practically no. So I'm not a great fan of all-women police stations. I feel that every police station should have a dedicated desk to receive women, to take their complaints, and to register their crimes. The people who receive the woman complainant should be women so that they have no difficulty in sharing their problems. Once the case is registered, the case is like any other case that has been registered in the police station, and everybody in the police station, whether women constable or men constable, depending upon their availability, should respond to those calls of distress. So these are my views. Thank you.
It's like a dedicated desk to take all complaints of women exclusively manned by women personnel is the right solution. And another aspect which I would like to bring over here is nowadays, like, the digitalization has become the buzzword, and most of the activities of the literate community is being managed through digital. So like the digital crimes are also increasing. We have cyber police stations, one or two. Means in Gurugram also we have one cyber police station, and maybe a couple of cyber police stations we may be having at Delhi or in other parts of country. How equipped do you think that our police is to manage the cyber crimes which can cause disaster to the people's life, their money in the banks, and like even harassing them with the various handles and platforms which are available?
See, the capability, the digital capability or the capacity of the police to investigate cyber crimes is not uniform all over the country. Some states and some cities have done better than others. Wherever the government has taken cognizance of the fact that the cyber crime is on the rise and there should be a strong cyber crime cell, and they have funded the cyber crime cell and got in all the gadgets, spent money on the training of its personnel, also occasionally used people from the private sector and software writers, to help them. Some cities, some states have done well, but the capacity is not uniformly distributed. And some state, as you know, police is a state subject. It is for the states to take the initiative to make their cyber cell as good as possible. Let me also inform all participants of this webinar that a majority of counter-terror operations that have taken place in the country and successfully, where people have been caught and major terror plots busted or major terrorist attacks prevented, they have mostly been on account of cyber investigations. So I repeat that we are fairly well equipped. There is room for improvement, even at places where the facilities are very good, and other states which are lagging behind, those state governments should become cognizant of the fact that there is need to make them very, very professional.
So like technology-based investigations are the key for the future. And, as we see that in many countries which are advanced countries, there the use of technology is very high in order to curb the crime. we have also come a long way. Like if we see the, police using the mobile details, police using the, trying to intercept such calls which can be, criminal in nature, and trying to find out the connect helps the police. But what other things do you think that police should be equipped with? Now we see a lot of CCTV coming into role, which covers a lot of areas and enables the police to have the images of many crime scenes. And many a times we find that these CCTV cameras are maybe outside the shop or the restaurant. Now, of course, I find that all states have big budgets for putting the CCTV cameras covering majority of the area, but still we find that it has a very long way to go. So from your perspective, sir, what could be the technological interventions which can help and make policing more effective and better?
Should say, sky's the limit. There's no limit to how much we can improve and what all can be done to improve policing with the help of technology. For instance, artificial intelligence, instance face recognition systems. If the CCTV camera catches people indulging in, say, rioting or vandalism, artificial intelligence can help us in identifying those people. And let me also inform you that the interception of telephone calls and telephony is now a thing, almost a thing of the past. The criminals are now using voice over internet protocol, VoIP, as you know. They use say WhatsApp. They will use so many platforms. Rimaji mentioned Messenger. You can speak on Messenger, you can video chat on Messenger, and there are any number of platforms which can be used to communicate with each other. And the criminals are now quite wise, and they do not use regular telephones, but they use smartphones which have these softwares, these platforms. So the police has to keep pace with these patterns, emerging patterns, and develop and acquire technologies to counter them. It's very difficult. It's not because the number of platforms there are, and the various ways that you can communicate with each other. It is phenomenal. It is mind-blowing. And it would be very difficult for the police to have technology to intercept all those messages. But I feel it is an ongoing process. It is an ongoing battle. And if the police has to win, if the police has to have the upper hand over criminals, and more importantly, the terrorists, it will have to keep upgrading its technological capabilities by the day.
Very true, sir. Beyond technology, beyond competencies, I think trust between the people, between the public and police, is one tool which can help police immensely in curbing many crimes which are happening nowadays. And I find that police has a system of informers. Like I had myself been the member of the peace committees and central peace committees. And I know, like, it is again, as you rightly said, you brought a change by putting the Jan Sampark, a new way of, creating a connect between people and public. But the normal thing is, see, I used to be in Jamshedpur, which was very prone to, rioting. And whenever there used to be Ram Navami or, Muharram, and whenever there used to be a procession which had to happen, just before that, the peace committee used to become active and try to, communicate with people in order to ensure that the peace prevails. But I think that if there can be a continuity of such interactions, and if they are not limited only to some, festivals which evoke trouble in society and where the criminal elements take advantage and create disturbance, I think a continuous connect between the various stakeholders of the society, whether they are of industry, whether they are the social groups, whether they are, NGOs or women groups or youths in society, if that type of hub and spoke model can be created between police and public, I think the communication will also increase, and also the ease of connecting. Or, like many a times means, if to tell you very honestly, means we lived in a small town, and if a police PCR would come in front of somebody's house, people used to be very inquisitive. What has happened? Why has police? Means it was perceived that if police has come, something wrong either is this person has done or something wrong has happened with him. So how to come out of this image is a big challenge. And I think communication will only lead to, more credibility, and the actions, humane actions, which create a new face of this great institution, is the only way of creating a better connect between public and police.
I think, if I have your permission, one should also remember that only developing good public relations or communications and all in the long run will not help. Police should be also be able to do its own work. The core function is of fighting crime, maintaining law and order, proper traffic arrangements, and so on and so forth. So if we have excellent communication, if we have regular heinous crime, and the police is not able to solve it, no amount of PR is going to help. I was the commissioner of police when the Nirbhaya case took place. I mean, the best of friends that I had in the media, they all turned against me. And they wrote all kinds of things in the print, and they said all kinds of things on the television. So, but when we solved the crime, when we charge sheeted the case, and when we finally got their conviction, the faith of the people in the police was restored. So the point I'm trying to make is that the core functions of the police, it has to be kept in mind right on top of the priority. It must deliver well on all these fronts. Only then will the people respect the police.
Very true, sir. Very correctly said. We all have to do what we are supposed to do. And that is foremost important for all of us in whichever sphere of life we are. Before I pass it on to Rima, I think that I have a few lines which my friend keeps on reciting to me. That he used to say that रात के अंधियारे में ना काम कोई ऐसा करो चेहरा जो छुपाना पड़े दिन के उजियारे में, और दिन के उजियारे में ना काम कोई ऐसा करो कि नींद तुम्हें आए नहीं रात के अंधियारे में.
और रात हो या दिन हो, कोई ऐसा काम ना करे कि पुलिस को आना पड़े. एक लाइन और भी, एक मिसरा और भी उस शेर में हो सकता था. हाँ, रीमा जी, I think we should continue.
Thank you for the wonderful informative session, sir. I would like to add only a few lines that please do not confuse my personality with my attitude. My personality is who I am. My attitude depends on how you act. The same you said initially. So thank you very much. Thank you, Harbhajan sir. Thank you, Neeraj sir. And you want to conclude something, sir? Neeraj sir?
I wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for spending this valuable time with us. And I thank all the participants who had been connected. I thank Rima ji, I thank Pavan and other friends who had been associated. Great thoughts and a very eye-opener. I only want to end saying this, that the life of policemen is also not that easy. Please let us appreciate the type of conditions in which they have to perform. They don't have weekly offs like we people do have in factories or in corporate world, and their duty hours are not defined from 8 to 5 or from 6 to 3. And if the situation demands, they have to work 24/7 without much assistance or without much support, being dutiful and trying to solve our problems. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you all, and I hope that in the times to come, we will have great people in the police force towing the line of respected Neeraj sir, and there will be a great connect between society and police, and this institution will gain great heights. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.